For this Thought Thursday, I'm going to be talking about my Sony cameras that I use and how each of them have at least one gotcha. Here's the story. For those who aren't aware, Urban Dictionary defines gotcha as an annoying or unfavorable feature of a product or item that has not been fully disclosed or is not obvious. And I use 3 Sony cameras. The first one is the A7 IV, which I'm recording with right now. And for me, its main gotcha is the crop factor when you shoot in 60p in full frame. If you're shooting in 60p in 1080p, there's no crop factor or an APS-C 1.5 times crop factor, but when you're shooting in 4K, there is an APS-C 1.5 times crop factor, which is a little bit annoying when I'm used to having the full frame to record with my other Sony cameras. The A7 IV is also known to overheat, and it has overheated on me once, but in that instance it was user error because I did have the camera set on standard and not the high setting for the heat temperature, and if you don't have it set too high, then the camera will overheat and shut down. So that is definitely something to be aware of as well. And the A7 IV also has pretty bad rolling shutter, which makes it not an ideal candidate for gimbal work in my opinion. Moving on to the A7S III, the main gotcha that I've found with this camera so far, although it is a great camera, is that it doesn't have the lens breathing compensation feature that my other 2 cameras do have. And that's unfortunate because recently I've been investing into Sony GM lenses, and all of those lenses are quite expensive. They're very high quality, but unfortunately some of them do suffer from a bit of lens breathing. And here is a visual example of lens breathing. If you look at the corners, you can see that the frame is breathing a little bit when the focus is changing. And that is quite distracting and not a look I desire for my video projects. So unfortunately, until this camera gets a firmware update from Sony to have lens breathing compensation, that's the main gotcha that I can see with that camera. And depending on your needs, another gotcha might be that it's 12 megapixels as opposed to 33 megapixels like the A7 IV. Obviously, the A7S III is focused more at video, and the A7 IV is a hybrid camera and focused on both doing photo and video quite well. So there are compromises that need to be made between the cameras. Really, at the end of the day, you need to purchase the right tool for the right job. And that's the good thing about Sony, there's always the right tool for the right job. Unfortunately, you might just have to purchase a few cameras to be able to do all the jobs that you're wanting to do. And the last camera I use is the Sony FX6. And the main gotcha for this camera is its availability. Fortunately for me, I was able to purchase the Sony FX6 in early 2021, and I've been able to be shooting with it ever since. However, for some of my video producer friends who have placed an order for a Sony FX6 and have talked to their distributor, they've been informed that they might not be getting it until the end of this year, possibly even 2023. Because of the current world events and global chip shortages and supply and demand and all those excuses, unfortunately the Sony FX6 has been on back order for what seems to be months, possibly even verging on years now. And unfortunately, we don't really know when there will be a big supply of Sony FX6s in the future. So really, the best advice that I have for people right now that are putting orders on the Sony FX6 and wanting to purchase one is that good things are worth waiting for. So make an order, secure your spot in the line, and then after a little bit of patience, you'll hopefully have what I consider one of the best cameras in the market today. And then a couple other gotchas with the Sony FX6 is it doesn't have any XLR inputs on the body of the camera, it's only on the handle, and it also doesn't have in-body image stabilization, which the Sony A7S III has and the A7 IV has as well. So having that feature is really nice in those 2 other cameras. However, those 2 other cameras don't have an internal electronic variable ND like the Sony FX6 has, and I believe that because it has the variable ND, it can't have the IBIS as well because of physics or something like that. I don't know, I'm not a camera engineer. They're just the rumors that I read on the internet, so take that with a grain of salt. So they're my thoughts on the gotchas that I have found with my Sony cameras, but let me know what you think. Do you use Sony cameras as well, and are there any gotchas that you have found that I haven't mentioned? I'd love to hear them in the comments. And that's the video. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel for more videos on video creation in the future.